When an elderly man stumbled upon a terrified cat hidden beneath a mound of black sand, he was taken aback. Upon learning the cat's backstory and confronting a tough decision, he made an astonishing choice. On a sweltering summer afternoon, Henry Carter was getting his tools ready for a weekend project. At 70 years old, he was in the midst of renovating a house for his daughter. Although retired, he had spent his entire life in construction and was determined to complete one final job as a surprise for her and her fiancé. Little did he know, today would bring an unexpected encounter. Hidden in the back of his truck, beneath a mound of black sand intended for cement, was a tiny, furry creature. As Henry scooped up each load of sand with his shovel, he noticed no signs of movement, nothing to raise suspicion. Suddenly, he felt a soft thud against something solid beneath the sand. Intrigued, he lowered his sunglasses and carefully began to dig with gloved hands, parting the grains until an object started to emerge. That's when a muted scream erupted from the pile, revealing wild, orange fur. As he cleared a space around the fur, a small head popped out, and the scream transformed into a meow. Nearly having a heart attack, Henry stumbled backward, struggling to regain his composure. Removing his gloves, he gently picked up the small animal, whose large, wide eyes gazed back at him. "What on earth are you doing here?" he asked the small cat, which just tilted its head slightly. Taking it out of his truck, Henry couldn't help but think how close this cat had come to being mixed into cement, injured by his shovel, or suffocating under the weight of the sand. His first thought was that this must be a street cat that had jumped into his truck looking for shelter. It was frightened, flinching at every movement Henry made, but he was slowly able to convince the cat that he could be trusted. As he dusted the feline off with a small towel, he noticed a collar around its neck and a small metal tag hanging underneath its chin. Reading the inscription, he found there was no name, no cursive writing or address, simply a number, 129, along with a phone number underneath. Taking out his mobile and dialing the number, Henry anticipated a quick resolution. After a few empty rings, the receiver clicked, and a voice came from the other end, greeting him with an inquisitive tone. Henry began to explain the situation. "I think I found your cat in my truck," he said. What he heard next shocked him. The voice told him that this phone had been found by the side of the road. It was now at a police station, and Henry was speaking to an officer. He was instructed to hang on to the cat while they tracked down the owner of the phone, which was proving more difficult than they had anticipated. Henry's task wasn't going to be easy either. Anytime he let go of the cat, it scurried away, disappearing into the black sand again. It was as if the pile of sand was its safe space, and Henry began to wonder if this cat was hiding inside the sand rather than having fallen into it accidentally. But what could it have been hiding from? The man's sole focus for the moment was to keep the cat safe. Grabbing some meat from the kitchen, he was able to slowly lure the feline through the back of the house, closing the door behind it. With each step, the cat trusted Henry a little more until it was safely inside the living room, sniffing around its new surroundings. Try as he might, though, the old man couldn't get the cat to relax. It remained cagey and on guard, always looking out of the side of its eyes for anything to be suspicious of. Less than a day earlier, this cat had made a daring escape. It had been traveling in the back of a different vehicle along with much of its family, but this cat belonged to an illegal cat breeder who had been passing through town in the back of his dark truck. This small orange cat had been crammed together with 40 others. The sound of the engine filled the space as the vehicle shook from side to side, frightening every cat that was kept behind individual cages covered by a large black top to disguise them. At one point, though, the truck came to a standstill, and the sound of a car door opening and slamming shut could be heard up ahead. In an instant, everything grew silent. Although young, this cat sensed an opportunity. The door of its cage had come loose a few miles earlier, and by pushing it with its paw, it was able to swing it open. It was out now. It looked around at its siblings, trying to free them too. The group meowed and purred at each other, knowing that the situation was urgent, but there was no way for the other cages to be opened. Just then, the car door slammed again, and the truck's engine turned over. A spattering and a rumbling jolted the vehicle again. Taking one last look at his family, the cat made an instinctive decision. It jumped from the back of the truck to a different vehicle right beside it, landing in the big pile of black sand in Henry's truck. The parking lot was a gas station, and by pure chance, the two trucks had been filling up side by side in different bays. Moments later, Henry returned and began the drive back to his daughter's house. After landing, the small cat was terrified to move and waited silently until it was found by Henry, who brought it into the house. Henry, who didn't know any of this, was still scratching his head over the entire situation. Why were the police involved? He thought. Perhaps he would be in trouble. After all, he was operating some of this machinery without a valid license. It had been years since he worked professionally, and if he was found to have violated health and safety regulations, there would be big penalties. That's why, when the police rang him back again, Henry was on edge. His voice was nervous and unsure as the officer interrogated him, asking him exactly how he found this animal and what he had been doing with all the sand and equipment. This officer was suspicious and clearly trying to get to the bottom of something. The old man tried to explain the situation, that he was giving his daughter a surprise by remodeling her home. After a barrage of questions, the policeman's tone changed. He began explaining that a week earlier they had confiscated the phone as part of an investigation into animal breeding, and they were fast closing in on the man responsible. With Henry's information, they were able to track down the number plate from the gas station and arrest the ringleader, all on the same day. That evening, Henry was visited by an animal rescue team who gave him an offer. They could either take back this little cat and wait for it to be adopted, or Henry could take responsibility for it along with its two siblings. It would be the only way to make them comfortable enough in a new environment. Henry looked down at the cat, knowing that he was too old to take on such a responsibility, but by now it had come to trust him. It was going to be a very sad goodbye, so he decided to do something unbelievable. The following day, when Henry's daughter pushed open the garden gate, she sensed that her father had been up to something. In addition to the tools and clothes strewn across the courtyard, the unmistakable scent of fresh cement filled the air, a smell she recognized from her childhood as a sign that her father had come home from work. But this time, it was her turn to arrive, and she was astonished by the effort her father had put in for her. As she opened the front door, she was greeted by the sight of nearly the entire interior remodeled, and it suddenly clicked why she had been sent away for the weekend. Stepping into the backyard, she noticed that the work was less complete, but tiny wet paw prints marked the ground, leading from the veranda into the house. To her surprise, 3 little orange cats came bounding toward her, eager to play, leaving her utterly speechless. "Whose cats are these?" she asked her father, to which he simply replied, "They're yours now." From that moment on, she and her fiancé embraced their new home and 3 new pets, all of whom were thrilled to have a safe place to grow and thrive. What an amazing tale! What would you have done if you discovered the cat buried in the sand? How would you have felt in Henry's daughter's position? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your loved ones. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay updated with our channel. Thank you for watching.